Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the exciting world of cyber defence. So, the title of our discussion today is The Psychology of Cyber Defence, Implementing the Human Firewall. So what's our objective? Who would like to read out our objective today?
Identify 3 physical and 3 psychological controls, strategies to meet your legal and moral obligations to protect your sensitive data assets and write the human firewall equation.
So, moving along, the discussion today, the process we'll follow will be, we're going to discuss physical and psychological controls that you can put in place to protect your data assets. We'll discuss how you might implement the human firewall, and we'll have a little practice, a little exercise as a group, and then we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll have individual tests, and then hopefully at the end of the day I'll give you a little handout that you can use as a memory aid to prompt you if you want to consider implementing some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about here today. So, can anyone tell me what a sensitive data asset might be? Danny?
Like private information?
Yeah? Anything that's got personal information that you hold, sort of about employees, customers, whatever? Paul, anything to add to that?
I suppose it's something of value to you that you don't want other people to have.
Good answer. Tracy, anything to add?
Details?
Yeah, that on an individual level, your account number, your PIN, anything like that is considered a sensitive data asset. Tony, anything to add?
Or medical or human sort of resources data that the company hold on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So staff records, anything that's held that's private to you could be considered a sensitive data asset. So, as Paul said, any data asset that has value. So, an example: employee records containing PII, private identifiable information. Nobody mentioned R&D records. So, if your company is invested in product development, you might not want your competitors to get hold of that information. So, you might want to keep that quite well locked up for commercial reasons. So, in terms of sensitivity of data, what defines a sensitivity? So, Paul, can you give us an example of how you would define sensitive data?
It will cause harm if it's released.
Yeah, there'd be some sort of loss to you as an individual or to your organisation. So, going back to the product development plans, if your competitors got hold of that, there might be a massive commercial consideration. Also, what other sort of pitfalls are there to losing that data? Reputational damage. For example, a very large electronics retail organisation was given a massive fine recently. So, what do you think that did to their reputation, Danny?
So you probably wouldn't use them again, or you'd be nervous using them in the future, maybe?
Absolutely. And financial loss. Tony, what might that mean?
Where either you, yourself personally, or the company has lost money.
Yeah.
I suppose that can lead into reputational damage, because if your company's had its reputation damaged, then it will lose money financially, or whether someone has stolen money from your company.
Okay, so as Danny said, if you're in the news, people might be reluctant to spend their money with you online because you've got a bad reputation for loss of credit card data or numbers or whatever. So there are lots of different ways you can manage risk, but just keeping it to a high level. So the sensitive data is data that has a value to you personally or an organisation, and it has a high risk if it's lost or stolen. It's published on the internet, whatever. So how do we protect those sensitive data assets? Danny, give me some ideas about it. Let's give you a scenario, okay? Let's say in this room, in the corner over there, there's a big pile of R&D plans that your organisation has. So how would you protect, what ways would you use to protect that information?
Physically, obviously you might have locks and stuff on the doors.
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess.
But even within the room, how would you provide protection against it?
Put it in the drawer.
Exactly. So you lock it away, sort of safe, fireproof safe, or filing cabinet, something like that. Okay, so once it's locked away, then tell me what other ways might you protect the information assets in this room? So you've got a safe in the corner, and it's locked. How else might you protect that?
Well, if it's a lock safe, I wouldn't particularly think it would need protecting that much,
Okay.
I'll be honest. But
Well, could you physically protect the room itself?
you could lock the room, you could put the safe in a cage, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. Good examples. Paul? Any other ideas about how you might sort of put protection around that?
You could have some system in place that let you know if the safe's approached, like say sensors or alarms or.
Yeah, you could have some sort of intrusion detection system. You might. Okay. What about the way you would approach the room? What controls might you put to sort of monitor who goes in and out?
CCTV.
Spot on. Yeah. So, and then at the reception area, if you wanted to stop unauthorized people entering the building, what could you do?
You'd have a locked door, you'd have someone on reception who only
Yeah.
lets authorised
Exactly.
people.
Some sort of security guard. And then out of hours, you might want to have an alarm on the whole building. Okay, so we have, just to reiterate, we have legal and regulatory requirements to protect data. We also have a moral requirement. In a healthcare environment, in a hospital trust, you have a moral obligation to protect records of children, vulnerable people, even normal patients. We have a moral obligation to protect that. So what's a control? We spoke about controls. What does that mean? Danny, any idea?
Controls as in controlling and making sure that it is safe.
Yes? Okay, so we spoke about putting it in a safe or locking the door or security guard. They're all forms of controls. And there are other ways you can put controls in. Those particular controls we spoke to, they're physical controls. We'll talk a bit more about that. But we can put reviews, security reviews in place. Checks and balances. We might want to sort of have the key for the room. You might have to sign it out from the key register or whatever. Methods, the way you work, around sort of building security into your working environment. And procedures, so for example, I need to get to the data. The procedure is I go, sign out the key, unlock, lock it, put the key back and sign it back in again, that sort of stuff. So, just to go over again, so physical controls that we can put around this data that's in the corner of the room. We spoke about locks, which is good. So we put a lock on the filing cabinet, good lock on the door, good strong lock. We spoke about the key signing out. CCTV in the corridor, so if, you might have something pointing out so you can see who's walking down the corridor. You might want to record that. Security guard in reception. That's a good physical control. Building intruder alarm, so maybe at night time there's nobody here, somebody tries to break in, you've got an alarm, or some sort of 24-hour monitoring service. You can take this as far, it depends on the value of the asset you're protecting.
Mm-hmm.
So, these are all what we call physical controls, because they stop physical access, stop somebody coming in and physically picking up the paper or the media tape or the system that's holding the data. But do we think that physical controls are enough? Is a physical barrier enough to stop people getting in?
No, because you get people that break in, don't you?
Well, what other controls might we want to put in place to reinforce those physical controls? Anyone got any ideas? Tony?
Well, if you've got data stored on a computer, then you're obviously going to need some sort of firewall or protection, electronic protection system for your data.
Okay. I estimate about 60%, that's what you get from physical protection. There's 40% of your asset protection is not provided by physical security controls. So can physical controls provide 100% defence? I say No? Anyone else? Anyone want to comment on that? Disagree with me?
No.
So what other controls can we put in place? Any idea what else we can do?
Electronic.
Yeah,
Or electrical. Or
yeah. So you mentioned firewall before.
Yeah.
Any Paul? Any other examples of those sort of electronic type controls we can put in place?
Data loss prevention programs.
Yeah. Stop your staff emailing out spreadsheets by mistake. So you
Yeah, using some programs like Secure FX that will only send data securely across a network.
Okay. So I'm going to talk. What I want you to think about is psychological controls to protect specifically against social engineering attacks. Now, does anyone know what social engineering means? Danny?
No, sorry.
Tracy?
No, sorry.
Paul?
It's using a trick to elicit information.
It's very easy to understand terms. It's a con. So okay, so it's people use techniques, con job techniques that have been around for centuries, and they apply it to the modern world to try and get at your data assets. Some examples of social engineering. You might have heard some of these mentioned on the news. Phishing is that sort of sending, when you get an email from your bank and it's not your bank, that's a phishing attack.
We've got a little fish on our email.
Excellent, good, that's good. Anyone know what tailgating is?
Looking
Tracy?
over the shoulder on the train.
That's actually shoulder surfing.
All right, okay.
Tailgating is. Anyone else want to have a go? Tailgating. Sorry, go on.
I do it like if someone's walking in front of you with a phone, maybe, and you're kind of looking over.
That's shoulder surfing.
Okay.
Paul.
It's the act of following someone behind a security entry point and gaining entry without their knowledge.
Yeah. So somebody sort of walks behind you. The gate's open. You walk through. They walk through immediately after you. Okay, so these are just a few. These are sort of high-profile sort of social engineering attacks that people use. There are hundreds of different wacky definitions of social engineering attacks. Have a look on Wikipedia if you want any more information. But the point is, psychological controls can offer a much more effective protection against social engineering than physical controls can. So, what's this thing, the human firewall? Any idea? Danny, what do you think a human firewall might be? We know what a computer firewall is. It sort of protects access to your network. But what would a human firewall be?
You defending something yourself?
Absolutely, yes. Tracy? Any ideas?
I was going to say that.
Sorry.
Tony,
Stopping these things happening. So building up defences, having coping mechanisms yourself.
Yeah.
Our own physical mechanism.
Okay. Paul?
I imagine human firewall refers to making a human being able to make decisions of what can and can't be done.
Perfect. Okay. So there's a formula to calculate what the human firewall means. It's basically staff awareness plus staff training leads to staff empowerment. What do you think that means? Tracy, if your staff are empowered, what would that mean in a social engineering context?
I just think it raises your own awareness so that you would know when there's potential of a so say this email I got before,
Yeah.
I would know about more signs that I probably wouldn't have even attempted to start filling my details in.
And in a commercial context, if you got an email at work, and you were empowered, what would that mean? Say somebody sends you an email saying, we need you to transfer £1 million to this Nigerian bank account, and it's got to be done by 10 o'clock this morning, otherwise we're going to lose a massive contract, signed finance
It
director.
would mean that I'd get the sack if I did that.
No, but if you had this staff awareness and staff training and you felt empowered, what would you do?
You have to deal with it.
Exactly.
We have cyber training. We have this little Morphe, he's called, who comes and does our cyber training for us, where he tries to get into all of our systems and
An ethical hack sort of thing.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, he's unethical, and then he ends up working for Siemens in the end. So it goes round the
Okay.
circle onto the north he does.
Paul,
Simmons never gets actually hacked, so it's a bit unbelievable. That's
Paul, what does it mean to you? Staff empowerment, what does that mean to you?
Given the skills, knowledge, policies and procedures for an employee to make decisions that defend the company against data loss.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So really,
Fantastic.
at its very lowest level, it's something's not right here, I don't like this, I'm going to talk to my manager about it. That's it. That's
Well,
where
Dennis says
empowerment.
we've got a special button that you'll press and you'll send it to.
And if
Data,
it says you
yeah.
think it's a phishing email, yeah.
So staff, what does staff empowerment mean? The human firewall. So this is the formula for implementing the human firewall. And I'll be giving you out a handout at the end that will reinforce this. So what are the benefits of the human firewall? If your staff are empowered, what do you think that means to your organisation? Tracy?
Safer, reassured.
Absolutely, we're increasing the level of protection. Danny?
Confidence
Yeah.
that you can deal with it.
Yeah. Tony? What do you think a benefit of the human firewall might be?
Then you'll be more capable to do it. Your company will perform better because everyone inside that company knows what to do to empower themselves.
In the context of, remember we said that physical controls can offer probably up to about 60%. What do you think, if we have an effective human firewall, what do you think that would mean to your protection, your percentage level of protection? So so would it add to the 60%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Approximately, you can build it up. If you do it really well, you can get almost 100% protection. No organisation is completely 100% safe, but you can get close to 100%. You can certainly improve on the 60%, and it's quite easy to implement. Okay, so a little bit about group exercise. So I'm going to split you into 2 teams of 2. You go into those. Okay. You spread them out. So you've got I think 7 pictures there. I'd like you to categorise those pictures as either physical controls or psychological controls. But hang on, before you go ahead, there's a bit of a trick here because 2 of those controls could actually fit in both camps. So the trick is to try and identify the 2 controls that could be both. Okay, so I'll give you about a minute or so to carry on with that.
Training.
I think that's him. That's your teamwork. I think obviously that's physical because it's like the guard doesn't work.
And then the staff empowerment. And
If you were to train this guard and give him the staff, put him on the staff awareness program, what would he be physical and psychological?
He's in the middle.
He's one of the middle ones.
Are they-
The training would
But
be
then you
purely
say the same about him and you
yeah,
say the same about
psychological.
me,
Well,
wouldn't
these
you?
these are hard facts.
Yeah.
That could be.
So you said there was
Yeah.
2, did you, to go in
Yeah,
the middle?
well, 2. Yeah. So which
Does
that's the
that
other,
mean
which
that
other
it
one?
gets in?
Have a think about Mr. Meerkat.
Okay, so these are our physical ones.
Yeah.
He's physical because he's
And
guard.
these are physical, but we think that they could
Psychological
implement
because he's thinking
psychological
about it. So he's basically the same as you.
potential, and then that's our
He's
staff
highly
empowerment, but we don't
trained,
know
it's
about
just
the
from an
main
instinct point of
Okay, so
view.
lock is physical, moat definitely physical,
Physical protects the
CCTV
family.
Yeah.
physical.
physical, that's what we thought.
And psychological because it's the presence of viewing it.
Yeah, that-
You see it, so you know.
could make that interpretation. So guard, is he physical or psychological? Okay, if you were to train him up, if you were to say, okay, you're not just responsible for the physical, you've got to protect against people, unauthorised people getting in there.
Psychological.
Is it psychological
as well.
control?
Yeah, we say.
Psychological, staff awareness, psychological. What about Mr. Meerkat?
We can get in
Is
the
he
little
fit?
holes.
Okay, so the way Meerkats, we have one guy that's on guard. Anyway, there's a team and one guy's on guard. Is that a physical control or a psychological control or both?
Both.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on. So,
Got these back now.
no, just before we move on. So, which are the 2 controls that could be physical and psychological?
Mr. Guard and Mr. Meerkat.
Why?
So they can both be trained, or
Yeah.
his. They can
Absolutely.
be trained,
They can
but
encompass
psychological.
both.
I
Both
mean, that's like
psychological.
instinctively trained as well.
Yeah, exactly. He has this awareness of the team, that the whole, he's protecting the family, the group, whatever you call it, a group of meerkats. So he's physically, he's there, he's looking for predators, but also he's got the because he has the interests of the group of meerkats, he's also got a psychological interest in maintaining security. So we just had a look at that. We talked about what might be called hybrid controls.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's the grouping. We've got physical, we've got psychological, and then these two fit into both camps. Okay, recap. Can anyone tell me, Danny, what's a control?
Like a lock, physical.
Yeah, the physical control is a lock, exactly. It's something, a process or a device you put around to protect something. Tracy, can you name me 3 physical controls?
CCTV, lock and key, and alarm.
Yep, absolutely. Tony, 3 psychological controls.
Training, awareness,
Yep. What's the ultimate objective? If you take training and awareness, put them together, what do you get?
empowerment,
Yes.
human firewall.
Exactly. Paul, what's the formula for the human firewall?
Just what Tony said.
Absolutely. So you take awareness, you take training, leads to empowerment, and you've got the human firewall.
Mhm.
Right, quick test. So, go. Very simple. We'll just jot down the answers to those questions. So we're looking for 3 physical controls, 3 psychological controls, and the formula for the human firewall. Okay, let's have a quick look. Yep, perfect. Lovely. And then that leads on to
Yeah.
firewall. Okay, lovely. I think we've all got those things right. So, let's talk about what our objective was today. So we wanted to identify 3 physical and 3 psychological controls. You've done it. You all comfortable with that?
Yes, thank
We've spoken about what our legal and moral obligations might be to protect sensitive data assets. And we've hopefully learnt what the formula is for creating a human firewall. So, what are the next steps? So you as individuals, take it back to your organisations or even in your private life and find out what staff awareness programmes are active in your organisation. And see, you know, I don't know, it's possibly driven by HR, it might be driven by your IT department. See if you can find out what's going on. Ask yourself, do you feel empowered to challenge? If some guy walks in and starts plugging a laptop in the office and starts going to the network ports on the wall and starts and you don't know who he is, are you empowered enough to go up and say, who are you, why are you here? Ring the security department, say, the guy walking around with a laptop, I don't know who he is, never seen him before. And read up on the human firewall. It's actually quite a well-documented concept if you go onto Google. Okay, so I promised you a handout. So I'm going to give you a little poster that you can stick above your desk,
Thank you.
hopefully to inspire you to think
Thank you
about
very much.
these
Thanks, Mark.
processes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.